Four West London teenagers from Christopher Wren's school who signed to the wrong label. Transatlantic wanted folk rock. The press thought they were too young, and the debut never charted. Recorded at Sound Techniques, produced by Hugh Murphy for Shell Talmy Productions. The album opens with 9 minutes of All in Your Mind, Bromham's guitar already at a level that Iron Maiden would acknowledge by covering it 25 years later. Move On brings unexpected funk. In reverse, some say, closes everything with dual guitar lines and galloping Sabbath-adjacent momentum. Eclectic, tight, melodically generous, and completely overlooked. This is a 7 out of 10. UFO, Judas Priest, and Motorhead later opened for Stray. The audience arrived eventually. The recognition never quite did. Ian MacDonald and Michael Giles had left following King Crimson's first US tour, and Greg Lake departed soon after to join Emerson, Lake, and Palmer. What remained was Fripp, Sinfield, and sheer determination. Lake agreed to sing on the recordings in exchange for the band's PA equipment. Michael and Peter Giles returned as session players. Keith Tippett brought jazz piano. Mel Collins added reeds and flute. The album mirrors its predecessor's structure deliberately, and the comparison is both its strength and its limitation. The title track remains genuinely magnificent. Fripp's mellotron at its most commanding, Lake's vocal among his finest with this band. The Devil's Triangle, built loosely on Holst's Mars, points toward the more uncompromising music ahead. The album reached number 4 in the UK, the band's highest chart position to date. This is a 7 out of 10, more seaworthy than it had any right to be. Named after the $165 a month hunting cabin outside Macon, Georgia, where much of it was written, Idlewild South is the record of a band still assembling its full arsenal, but already capable of something permanent. Tom Dowd produced 6 of the 7 tracks, capturing a group hardened by nearly 300 live dates behind their debut. The album is Dickie Betts' coming out as a composer. Revival became the band's first charting single, and In Memory of Elizabeth Reed, its title borrowed from a Rose Hill Cemetery gravestone to conceal the identity of the woman it was actually about. Introduced a jazz modal instrumental vocabulary, the band would expand into legend at the Fillmore East. Midnight Rider, completed after Greg Allman broke into Capricorn Sound Studios in the middle of the night to capture the demo, is simply perfect. The breakthrough would come the following year, but 2 songs here earn their place in any serious account of American music in 1970. This is a 7 out of 10. After 2 albums of heavy blues demolition, Page and Plant retreated to Bron yr Or, an 18th century Welsh cottage without electricity or running water, and returned with something that topped the charts and bewildered the critics simultaneously. Recorded at Headley Grange using the Rolling Stones mobile studio and finished at Olympic and Island Studios in London, the album splits between electric force and acoustic folk with varying success. The peaks are genuine. Since I've Been Loving You, 7.5 minutes of slow blues, Jones on Hammond organ and bass pedals simultaneously. Page's solo, found through a chance unplugged amplifier, is among the finest things this band ever recorded. Immigrant Song remains a masterclass in compressed fury. That's the Way is quietly lovely. But the album carries filler that neither predecessor did, and hats off to Roy Harper overstays its welcome as a closer. Lester Bangs dismissed it. The band released their next album with no name on the cover. History sided with the band. This is a 7 out of 10. After Woodstock thrust Santana into stardom, constant touring left the band with little time to write new songs, a constraint that pushed them toward inspired curation. Recorded in barely 2 weeks at Wally Heider's studios in San Francisco, in spring 1970, the album transformed borrowed material into something entirely their own. Peter Green's Black Magic Woman arrived filtered through Otis Rush and Wes Montgomery. Tito Puente's Oye Como Va became an irresistible rock anthem. The originals matched them. Samba Parti remains one of the most purely melodic guitar performances of the era. Matti Klarvein's Annunciation painting on the cover, tied to Hermann Hesse's Demian, gave the whole package a mystical coherence. Released September 23, 1970, it became Santana's first Billboard 200 #1. This is a 7 out of 10. The first side is close to flawless, the second is uneven. But at its best, Abraxas sounds less like a fusion experiment than like an inevitable meeting of worlds. The Doors entered the studio in November 1969, with Morrison facing potential jail time from the Miami incident and a fresh FBI arrest the day before recording began. The rest of the band were barely speaking to him. The Soft Parade's orchestral excess had failed critically, so the response was blunt. Return to electric blues, record live, no ornamentation. The result is the Doors at their most physically direct. Roadhouse Blues was cut with John Sebastian on harmonica, credited as G. Puglisi to hide his Reprise Records contract, one of rock's great opening tracks. Peace Frog is Morrison's most compressed political statement. The Spy is the quiet counterweight, menacing in its restraint. The cover was shot without permission at a Skid Row hotel that happened to share Morrison's surname. This is a 7 out of 10, uneven across its second side, but containing some of the hardest and most honest music this band ever made. Crisis, it turns out, was a reasonable substitute for inspiration. The band considered this their true debut. The Aerosol Grey Machine had been a Hamill solo record released under the VDGG name through a contractual arrangement. This one, recorded in 4 days at Trident Studios in December 1969, was built by the whole band. Hamill, Hugh Banton's church-trained organ, Guy Evans on drums, and newly arrived David Jackson, whose Roland Kirk-inspired double saxophone technique immediately defined the group's sound. 6 tracks cover medieval witch trials, personal loss, self-referential humor, and a closing science fiction apocalypse quoting Einstein on the Cold War. The range between the album's warmest and bleakest moments is remarkable for a record made in 96 hours. This is an 8 out of 10. H to He, released later the same year, would press the same vision harder and further. But the template, organ-driven, guitarless, lyrically uncompromising, arrived fully formed here, and nothing else in early 1970 sounded remotely like it. Released in December 1970 on Charisma Records, Van der Graaf Generator's third album remains one of progressive rock's most singular achievements, built around organ, saxophone, and Hamill's voice rather than any conventional guitar presence, recorded sporadically at Trident Studios between live dates, and marked midway through by bassist Nick Potter's departure, which Banton absorbed without breaking stride. Robert Fripp arrived for one session, played The Emperor in His War Room twice without prior knowledge of the track, and left a composite of both takes burned into the record. The 5 songs, Killers, 9-minute study of predatory loneliness, the somber, violent, somber arc of The Emperor, the unexpectedly intimate Lost, the quietly devastating House with No Door, and the science-fictional dissolution of Pioneers Over Sea, share a precision that separates them from mere dark atmosphere. This band knew exactly what isolation costs and wrote accordingly. This is an 8 out of 10. Demanding, occasionally exhausting, and still like nothing else from its moment. The essential step toward the even more uncompromising Pawn Hearts that followed a year later. The Shulman brothers, Derek, Phil, and Ray, dissolved Simon Dupree and the Big Sound in 1969, escaping a pop industry that had given them Kites, number 9 UK, 1967, and little else they wanted. With guitarist Gary Green, classically trained keyboardist Kerry Monier, and drummer Martin Smith, they formed Gentle Giant and recorded their debut at Trident Studios in August 1970, with Tony Visconti producing. The cover illustration by George Underwood depicted the giant Pantagruel holding the band in his hands. 7 tracks moving without apology between hard rock, pastoral folk, and avant-garde experimentation. Giant opens with choral bombast and shifting time signatures. Funny Ways pivots into baroque delicacy. Alucard hands everything to Monier's riotous keyboards. Nothing at All spans 9 minutes from quiet balladry to avant jazz. The Queen closes with 90 seconds of pointed irreverence toward the national anthem. This is an 8 out of 10, uneven in places, raw in production, but extraordinary in confidence. The blueprint is fully Gentle Giant from the first note. 3 musicians already celebrated in their own right: Emerson from The Niece, Lake from King Crimson, Palmer from Atomic Rooster, entered at Vision Studios in July 1970, before they had played a single live show together, and recorded one of progressive rock's most confident debut statements. Released November 20th, 1970, the album reached number 4 in the UK and number 18 in the US. Its reputation cemented weeks earlier when the Isle of Wight festival performance announced them to 600,000 people simultaneously. The formula was audacious. Rock arrangements of Bartók and Janacek alongside original compositions. The Barbarian opens at full aggression. Take a Pebble carries 12 minutes without strain, and The Three Fates, partly recorded on the Royal Festival Hall pipe organ, remains one of Emerson's most formally ambitious pieces. Lucky Man closes with unexpected gentleness, its Moog finale among rock's earliest prominent uses of the instrument. This is an 8 out of 10, slightly uneven, but charged with the irreplaceable energy of 3 musicians discovering what they are capable of together. The band's founding accident, keeping both Andy Powell and Ted Turner after failing to choose between them in auditions, created a twin lead guitar format that Thin Lizzy, Judas Priest, and Iron Maiden would all later claim as foundational. A recommendation from Ritchie Blackmore after a support slot with Deep Purple led to producer Derek Lawrence, a $250,000 MCA contract, and September 1970 sessions at Delane Lee with engineer Martin Birch. 6 tracks, all collectively written, capturing the band's live set. Blind Eye opens with blues riffing and honky-tonk piano. Lady Whiskey announces the twin guitar identity properly. Errors of My Way turns folk and reflective. Queen of Torture drives hard enough to prefigure the NWOBHM. Handy stretches ambitiously across 12 jazz-inflected minutes. Phoenix closes with 10 minutes that build from Ted Turner's bluesy introduction into a closing guitar passage of genuine transcendence, the album's reason for existing. This is an 8 out of 10. The first half is uneven. Handy overstays its welcome, but Phoenix is extraordinary, and Lady Whiskey shows the twin guitar language already fully formed. The foundation for Argus is unmistakably present. Three young Londoners, drummer Peter Dunton, bassist Bernard Jinks, and 17-year-old guitar prodigy Keith Cross, recorded this at Morgan Studios in late-night sessions, released it on Decca in July 1970, and dissolved before making another album. The music they left behind has spent decades climbing in price and reputation simultaneously. 4 tracks across 44 minutes. In Circles opens with hard-driving riffs and raw, semi-improvised soloing. JLT pivots unexpectedly to piano and mellotron introspection. No More White Horses, concerning a Polish pianist playing as German forces approach Warsaw, is the masterpiece. Heavy dynamics, brass arrangements, and a closing section of controlled chaos that belongs in any serious conversation about 1970 British rock. Morning fills the entire second side with 21 minutes of acoustic to electric progression that impresses without quite sustaining itself to the end. This is an 8 out of 10. One genuinely great track, one fascinatingly strange one ambitious epic, and the permanent question of what a second album might have sounded like. That question has no answer, which is precisely why this record still matters. Benefit is a transitional album in the truest sense, recorded between September 1969 and February 1970 at Morgan Studios, squeezed between tour legs, with John Evan joining on keyboards for the first time and Glenn Cornick appearing as bassist for the last. The blues roots are receding. The progressive ambition is not yet fully formed. What fills the gap is something rawer and more unsettled than either. The album opens with the 6-minute "With You There to Help Me," atmospheric, flute against searing guitar, genuinely ambitious. Nothing to Say hits harder. For Michael Collins, Jeffrey and Me hits deepest, a meditation on Apollo 11's forgotten orbiting astronaut that quietly says something about exclusion and proximity to greatness. To Cry You a Song delivers the album's most sustained hard rock intensity, Teacher its sharpest wit, and Society, You're a Woman, closes everything with disarming acoustic intimacy. This is an 8 out of 10. Uneven, pressured, and occasionally brilliant, the sound of a band discovering what it wants to be, and that discovery is worth more than any polished arrival. Eric Clapton was in love with Pattie Boyd, his best friend's wife, and had nowhere to put it except the studio. The result, recorded at Criteria Studios in Miami with producer Tom Dowd and transformed by Duane Allman's unexpected presence, is one of rock's most emotionally direct double albums. Two guitarists in perfect, unrepeatable conversation, a band playing with the looseness of people who know something important is happening, and at the center of it all, a song built from a medieval Persian love poem and crowned by Jim Gordon's piano coda. Music that arrived almost by accident and stayed forever. This is an 8 out of 10. The double album format occasionally reveals its own weight, but Layla alone justifies everything around it. Grief this honest rarely sounds this good. Lizard, released November 11th, 1970, is King Crimson's most volatile and genuinely strange album. Built by a band that barely existed, held together by Fripp's will and Sinfield's imagination. Gordon Haskell replaced Greg Lake on bass and vocals. Andy McCulloch joined on drums, while guests Keith Tippett, John Anderson, and a brass and woodwind ensemble gave the record its orchestral, jazz-dark density. The sessions were miserable. Haskell later described the experience as 24 hours of listening to bullshit hailed as art, and no lineup existed to tour the result. Side 1 moves through 4 pieces of increasing strangeness, from Circus's theatrical mellotron darkness to the brief, delicate beauty of Lady of the Dancing Water. Side 2 belongs to the 23-minute title suite, Anderson's luminous voice opening Prince Rupert Awakes, the brass eruptions of the Battle of Glass Tears fracturing into genuine lament, and the ghostly big top closing everything like a circus collapsing at dawn. This is a 9 out of 10. Difficult, unrepeatable, and consistently revelatory. An album that keeps revealing itself precisely because it was made under conditions no one would choose and no one could replicate. The Mark II lineup's debut was born from a quiet coup. Blackmore, Lord, and Pace replacing Evans and Simper in secret, bringing in Ian Gillan and Roger Glover from episode 6 to build something heavier. Recorded across 3 London studios between October 1969 and March 1970, the material had already been road-tested live before anyone pressed record. The Mount Rushmore sleeve, band faces replacing presidents, executed by hand with visible seams, announced the band's arrival with appropriate insolence. Speed King opens at full velocity. Bloodsucker drives harder. Child in Time is the centerpiece. 10 minutes of building tension, Gillan's extraordinary screaming, and Blackmore's finest solo on the record. A performance Gillan wanted to re-record and was wisely prevented from doing so. Flight of the Rat digests Rimsky-Korsakov. Hard Lovin' Man closes in proto-thrash fury. Number 4 in the UK, 68 weeks on the chart. This is a 9 out of 10. The album where Deep Purple became Deep Purple, and one of the definitive statements of what heavy rock could be in its first, most dangerous year. Black Sabbath's debut birthed heavy metal in a 12-hour session on 16th of October 1969, released Friday the 13th February 1970. Tony Iommi's factory accident, losing fingertips at 17, created the sound. He detuned his guitar and used power chords, accidentally forging metal's darkness. Regional splits divided the album. UK featured Evil Woman, Crow cover. US substituted Wicked World due to copyright issues. The 1996 remaster united both. Wicked World's anti-war fury fits better. From the tritone terror of Black Sabbath through NIB's satanic bass to Warning's blues workout, raw power meets sophistication. Reaching number 8 UK, number 23 US, 65 weeks, earning platinum despite critical savagery. Rolling Stone later ranked it 5th among metal's greatest. This is 9 out of 10. Sabbath refined this on Paranoid, but over 56 years later, this remains heavy metal's birth. Raw, uncompromising, essential. Released on October 23, 1970, Trespass is the album that made Genesis possible, perpetually overshadowed by what it enabled. Recorded at Trident Studios after months of intensive rehearsals, it marked a complete break from the Bee Gees-influenced pop of their debut toward English folk tradition, dramatic intensity, and progressive ambition. 6 tracks move from the soulful urgency of Looking for Someone through the wolf fable folk of White Mountain and the melodic Visions of Angels to Stagnation, the album's finest moment, with Banks delivering one of his earliest extraordinary keyboard solos. Closing with the satirical fury of The Knife, whose addition prompted the band to slash Paul Whitehead's finished cover painting with an actual knife. Failed to chart in the UK and US, reached number 1 in Belgium. Shortly after, Phillips quit due to stage fright, Mayhew was let go, and Hackett and Collins arrived. This is a 9 out of 10. The blueprint was already complete. Black Sabbath's Paranoid is the album that made heavy metal undeniable. Released September 18, 1970, recorded in approximately 3 days during June at Regent Sound and Island Studios, with producer Roger Bain. From War Pigs, apocalyptic anti-war fury, through Iron Man's iconic riff and ring-modulated vocals, to Electric Funeral's terrifying nuclear doom, the band captured crushing power and sophistication. Hand of Doom explores heroin addiction through brilliant dynamics, while Fairies Wear Boots closes magnificently with surreal fantasy and killer grooves. The title track? Weak, written in 15 minutes as filler, yet it became their biggest hit, number 4 UK. The irony stings. Reaching number 1 UK and number 12 US with quick gold certification, the album influenced Metallica, Judas Priest, and Iron Maiden profoundly. This is a solid 9 out of 10. The weak title track prevents perfection, but over 54 years later, Iommi's tone, Butler's bass, Ward's drumming, and Ozzy's authentic vocals remain the standard. Heavy music without compromise. A cow in a field. No band name, no title, no explanation. Hypnosis's most defiant gesture, and Pink Floyd's first UK number 1. Released October 2nd, 1970, the album is the band mid-transformation, uncertain, reaching, and more interesting for both. The 23-minute title suite, co-composed with Scottish experimentalist Ron Geesin, who wrote all the brass, choir, and cello parts while the band toured America, fills side one with orchestral ambition that nobody fully controlled and nobody fully predicted. Side two fragments deliberately. Waters' folk ballad If writes elegant Summer 68, Gilmour's pastoral Fat Old Sun, and the breakfast sounds of Alan's psychedelic breakfast, closing on a vinyl groove cut to loop forever. Waters and Gilmour later disowned it. The cow remains unbothered. This is a 9 out of 10. Imperfect by design and brilliant in spite of itself. A band discovering what it might become, one uncertain step at a time.